Okay, ratio, fraction, and percent homework. Complete the table below. So the first part of the table, they give you a ratio and they ask you to turn that into a fraction. Well, we showed you how 4 out of 5 can be written as a fraction like this. Now to turn that into a percent, 4 out of 5, we have to say, okay, well, what would that be out of 100? Because percents are always out of 100. So to go from 5 to 100, I'd have to multiply by 20. So in order to do that, I would do that same operation on top, and that would give me 80 out of 100, which is 80%. All right. For the second one, we're going to have to work backwards because they're asking for the ratio out of 20. So to take the percent back down to out of 20, to go from 100 to 20, I would have to divide by 5. So I'm going to follow that same rule on the top and divide by 5, which is going to give me 7. So this is really 7 out of 20. So because this is already out of 100, I know that this is 35%. All right, take a look at number 2. A basketball player made 63 out of 100 attempted free throws. What percent of free throws was made? Well, 63 out of 100 is already like a percent because it's out of 100, so that's equal to 63%. Take a look at number 3. It says your friend shows you a coin collection. In it, 45 out of 50 of the coins are quarters. So what percent of the coins are quarters? So 45 out of 50 are quarters. How many would there be out of 100? Well, you're going to follow that same thing we've been doing. 50 times 2 is going to get you 100. So you're going to do that same thing on top, multiply by 2. That'll help you get out of a 100, which will be able to help you turn it into a percent. So you guys finish that one. Number 4. At a grocery store, 68 out of every 80 customers use a shopping cart. What percent of customers are using the shopping cart? So I'm going to turn that into a fraction, 68 out of 80. In order to figure this one out, to go to 100, I'm going to see if I can reduce that 68 out of a 100, because to go from 80 to 100 would be difficult. So we could also set up a proportion like Miss Flood showed us in class. We could say, if we wanted it out of a 100, what would that be equal to? So in order to do it that way, we could cross multiply. 80 times x is 80x. And then 100 times 68, you're probably going to have to use your calculator for that. 100 times 68 is going to be 6,800. And then in order to solve that equation, we'd have to divide by 80 on both sides. So 6,800 divided by 80 would be 85%. All right, flip it to the back. Number 5, Ryder writes 11 out of 20 as the ratio 11/20. He incorrectly finds the equivalent percent to be 11%. What is the correct percent? So remember, in order to change it to a percent, it's got to be out of 100. So this needs to be out of a 100 to make it the percent. So I'm going to leave that one for you guys to figure out how we get that value for the percent. All right, and then you're going to have to answer this one. What was Ryder's error in the question before? He did not write 11/20 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 100. Or B, he wrote 11/20 as an equivalent fraction with 1,000 as the denominator. C, he did not write 20/11 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 0. Or D, he wrote 20/11 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 1,000. Okay, so you can kind of see what didn't he do right here. All right, let's skip down to number 6. It says, according to a survey of workers, 2 out of 20 of them walk to work. 1 out of 20 take a bike, 4 out of 20 carpool, and 13 out of 20 drive alone. What percent of the workers walk or bike? Well, I'm going to go back up here. I know 2 of them walk and 1 of them bikes. So 2 plus 1 would give me 3 out of the 20 that either walk or bike. But they want to know what percent that is. So again, you're going to need to turn that into a fraction with a denominator of 100. So you've got to figure out, how do we go from 20 to 100, and what would we do on top? You're going to do that same operation.